I remember the day as if it were etched in my memory, a moment that flipped my life on its head. My name is Alex, and I had been working tirelessly at a tech company for nearly 5 years. This wasn't just a job for me. It was my passion, my pride. I put everything I had into my work, pouring endless hours into projects, dreaming of promotions that always felt just within reach. I was known as the go-to guy, the one who could troubleshoot any issue or come up with innovative ideas on the fly. My colleagues often joked that I could fix just about anything. It seemed that hard work was finally about to pay off. There was excitement buzzing around the office about potential promotions, and I couldn't help but feel I was next in line. But then, everything changed. It was a regular Tuesday. The sun was shining, and my head was buzzing with recent project updates as I walked to my desk. A few hours into my workday, I received a message to come to the HR department. I remember standing up, a slight knot forming in my stomach. Maybe it's about that project proposal, I thought to myself, trying to shake off the unease. As I walked into the HR office, I saw my manager, stony-faced, sitting across the desk. The mood shifted instantaneously, like a storm cloud exchanging places with the bright afternoon sun. "Alex, we need to talk," she said. I felt a shiver run down my spine. She launched into a scripted speech about company changes, budget cuts, and the unfortunate decision to let me go. I was speechless. "But I don't understand. I've met all my targets. I'm committed," I stammered, but she cut me off. "I'm sorry, Alex. It's above my pay grade. This decision is final," she said, a mix of sympathy and indifference in her voice. I had been blindsided, fired without cause, without warning, without any explanation. It felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. As I left the building with my personal belongings in a box, my mind raced with confusion and betrayal. Had I really done anything wrong? Was my hard work truly worth nothing? Exiting through those sliding doors, I felt like I was leaving behind a piece of myself. The walls that had once felt like my second home now closed around me with a hard, icy grip. Each step felt heavier as I remembered the faces of my friends and colleagues, the laughs we shared, and the dreams we built together. "You're nothing without us," echoed in my mind from countless conversations. It pierced my heart as I stepped onto the sidewalk, feeling utterly hollow inside. Days turned into weeks, and the initial shock morphed into a determination I had never thought I would feel. I spent those countless sleepless nights reflecting on the unfairness of it all. I didn't deserve this. None of it made sense. I should have been leading projects, not standing idle at home, feeling lost. And that's when the seed of revenge began to sprout. I knew I couldn't let this go. They thought they could strip me of my dignity and my career. Oh no, I was going to show them. I began researching the company's dynamics obsessively, digging into its leadership failures. I opened my laptop day after day, becoming the detective of my own narrative, unearthing information about the company that had wronged me. That's when Sam, my closest friend, came over. He watched me pace back and forth in my tiny apartment, consumed by my anger. "Alex," he said, "you shouldn't let this destroy you. You were great there. Maybe it's time you take matters into your own hands." His words ignited something in me. We spent hours discussing a plan, brainstorming how I could not only return but take control of the very company that had dismissed me. It was audacious, sure, but I felt the fire of ambition rise within me. I had my goal clear in my mind. I wasn't just going to get my job back. I was going to take the reins and transform that company into something it had never seen before. As we fleshed out the details, my resolve matured. I could feel the thirst for redemption coursing through my veins. This conflict ignited something deeper within me, a passion for strategic mastery, resilience, and a thirst for justice. I was done being a victim. The game was on. The world had poked the bear, and now I would rise from the ashes of humiliation, ready to claim what was rightfully mine. And just like that, a seed of revenge was planted in the fertile soil of my anger, and it was time to watch it bloom. I had always thought a little revenge would make the pain fade, but it's not so simple. It's as if my whole life took on a new meaning after that dismissive day in the office. The anguish turned into a fuel, igniting a fire in my belly that I couldn't ignore. I was determined to reclaim not just my dignity, but to seize the very throne that had been ripped from beneath me. As days molded into weeks, I plunged into my old network. I made calls, sent messages, and reconnected with colleagues who shared in my misfortune. I needed to know the state of the company and its leaders. What I discovered shocked me to my core. The tech company I had devoted my soul to was crumbling financially. Leadership was misguided. The fear of layoffs lurked behind the smiles of the corporate elite while morale plummeted. This discovery hit me like a jolt. I began crafting a business plan, one that would show I could run things better. I outlined strategies and solutions that could save the company from its precarious position. I knew that if I wanted to take control, I first needed to downplay the prevailing reputation of the current leadership. Sam was there every step of the way, listening to my ideas and helping to sculpt my pitch to potential investors. "Alex, you've always had a way with words. Just sell them your vision," Sam said, urging me forward. I felt a swell of confidence. I envisioned not just returning to the company I had coveted, but leading it into a new era of innovation. Just when I thought I had it all figured out, I received an unexpected call that would change everything. It was Jessica, a former colleague I had worked with on a few significant projects. She had also been wronged by the company, fired under dubious circumstances. "Alex," she said breathlessly as I answered, "I've been hearing talk that they're running a smear campaign against you. They're trying to label you as untrustworthy." I could feel the anger bubble inside me. "What? Why would they do that?" "They're scared," Jessica replied, her determination crackling through the phone line. "If you come back, and with all these whispers about the company's issues, it could mean big trouble for the executives. They're doing everything they can to undermine you before you even have a chance." In that moment it clicked. It wasn't just about me reclaiming my job, it was about taking them down. I shared my plans with Jessica, who quickly joined forces with me. Together, we started devising countermeasures. We brainstormed ways to gain public support and how we could expose the company's mismanagement and their pathetic attempts to smear my name. We spent late nights researching, drafting press releases, and reaching out to former employees who had similar stories. The more we talked, the more we realized how many people had been tangled in the company's web of deceit and manipulation. Our alliance took shape, and we vowed to stand united against the injustices we had faced. Then one day, everything began to line up. We secured meetings with several investors interested in backfilling their portfolios with a company that had fresh ideas and management. The time was now. With Jessica's knowledge and my vision, we knew exactly how to appeal to these potential supporters. As I stood in front of that first group of investors, I felt a new confidence coursing through me. "We aren't just starting a rival company," I said passionately. "We're crafting an alternative to a flawed system. We will build morale back into a workplace of innovation, collaboration, and respect. Trust is our foundation, and we will not lose sight of that." The investors nodded, visibly impressed. As our plan unfolded, the former executives at my old company began to panic. It became clear they noticed the shift in momentum. They scrambled to discuss damage control and issued statements denying any rumors about financial instability. Their fear only validated my efforts. It was time for the first strike. Jessica and I compiled evidence of the former leadership's downfalls: poor hiring practices, nepotism, and the neglect of loyal employees. We issued press releases that highlighted our findings while painting our company as a beacon of hope in the industry. As the weeks rolled on, we witnessed a phenomenon I'd never expected. Public support began to swell. People rallied behind our cause, cheering for new leadership, new ideas, and a fresh start. It felt surreal to realize that my feelings of betrayal were transforming into something tangible. Instead of cowering in fear, we had turned the tables, rattling the old guard to its core. But just as all appeared promising for us, something shifted. The former boss, ever the master manipulator, decided to retaliate. I began receiving veiled threats and notices about potential sabotage against our fledgling company. I refused to give in, using every ounce of energy to fortify our operation. And then it happened. One night, as I reviewed invoices in my home office, the lights flickered. I glanced out the window. I could see shadows moving outside. I picked up my phone to call Jessica when my computer screen abruptly shut down. Panic surged. I realized our systems might have been compromised. I had narrowly escaped what could have been a hostile takeover attempt, orchestrated by the very people who had wanted to see me fall. My heart raced, and the shadow of fear loomed heavy. But I took a deep breath and reminded myself I was playing the long game. For the first time, I could taste the victory I so desperately wanted. I had started gathering the forces around me, and I wasn't going to let fear dictate my path. Each time I felt tempted to buckle, I strengthened my resolve. I knew this was a war, and wars are fought with patience and perseverance. I couldn't let myself fall victim again. The tide would turn in my favor. I only had to keep pushing forward. Little did they know, my plans were only just beginning. The situation escalated quickly after my narrow escape from the hostile takeover. I suddenly found myself in a battlefield, surrounded by enemies who had once been my colleagues. But rather than inspiring fear, it ignited my determination to fight harder. I had tasted betrayal, and it fueled my resolve even more. If I was going to reclaim my dignity and restore order, I had to be smart about my next steps. Before all this chaos, I had been enjoying small victories. My alliance with Jessica had proven invaluable. We worked around the clock, strategizing our corporate messaging, connecting with investors, and gaining traction in the industry. Yet I couldn't shake the sneaking suspicion that something was still out of balance. It didn't take long for those doubts to become clear. I remember the precise moment everything changed. Sam, who had been my trusted friend, confronted me in a dimly lit cafe just a few blocks from where our venture was based. I could sense something was amiss in his demeanor. He wasn't the supportive ally I had come to rely on. Instead, there was a coldness in his gaze, a resolve that made me anxious. "Alex, we need to talk about the direction this is all heading," he said, his tone unusually serious. "Sure, what's up?" I answered, trying to keep the mood light, but I could feel the tension rising. "I think you're getting a bit too ambitious. You don't need to take it all upon yourself. I know people," he said, his voice lowering. "There's talk at the company about feeling threatened by your success. Maybe aligning with them would be beneficial for both of us." His words hit me like a bucket of ice water. I leaned back in my chair, scrutinizing him closely. "What are you saying, Sam? Are you actually suggesting that I should just let them walk all over me again?" "Not at all," he replied quickly, but the hesitation told me everything. "But maybe we could work out a deal. You let them handle the dirty work while we get a cut." "Are you out of your mind?" I snapped, anger spilling out. I wasn't just taking this as a personal slight, it was a betrayal from someone I considered family. "I'm not interested in selling out to the very people who fired me without cause." As I stormed out of the cafe, my heart pounded with disbelief. The bitterness of betrayal tasted worse than any corporate smear campaign. As hard as it was, I knew this wouldn't stop me. This was just another hurdle in the path of my ultimate revenge. After processing the encounter, I immersed myself back into the work at my company with renewed vigor. I shut the door of my office and focused solely on strengthening our brand. We had already begun gaining traction, but I aimed for us to surpass anything my former employer had accomplished. With Jessica's insights and industry connections, we propelled our brand into new markets, catching the attention of several key players in the tech space. The media began to paint us as heroes, the underdogs fighting against a corrupt and failing system. I attended key industry conferences, making sure to establish essential partnerships and solidify our reputation. Each new collaboration brought much-needed credibility, and our investor meetings became more promising by the day. Meanwhile, the pressure mounted on my former boss as news of my budding threat spread through industry circles. The once invincible titan of the corporation was now on the defensive, scrambling to save face. I relished the moment. It was about time they experienced the consequences of their bad management. Yet amidst all this triumph, I knew that my greatest challenge lay ahead. One fateful day, as I prepared for a crucial meeting with new investors, I received an unexpected call from Jessica. I could sense urgency in her voice. "Alex, remember our strategy for tomorrow. We need to talk now. It's about the board meeting," she said, breathing heavily on the phone. "What's going on?" There's a petition circulating for a special meeting to discuss current leadership decisions. The board is starting to waver, and they're feeling the heat. They're starting to see how you've gained public support now, but it's also eliciting desperate moves. The realization hit me. The stakes were higher than ever. This was no ordinary board meeting. It was a potential coup against my former boss. I could seize the moment and potentially take control. Overwhelmed with adrenaline, I began assembling data that showcased not only my vision, but also the multiple ways I could revive the company. I meticulously prepared a pitch that outlined how my leadership would foster innovation and transparency, a stark contrast to the failings of my previous employer. That day arrived quickly, and I walked into that boardroom, heart pounding, but a sense of calm washed over me. As I saw the glances exchanged between the members of the board, I knew I had them questioning their decisions. Thank you for gathering here today. I'm here not just as a former employee, but as someone who believes we can turn things around. I began, my voice unwavering. For the next hour, I presented all my findings. I highlighted the growing challenges the company faced under current leadership, coupled with how my new company had gained traction in just a matter of months. I knew this brought the narrative back to what truly mattered, the future of the company. And I assure you, I concluded, if given the chance, I won't just restore what was lost. I will redefine our brand to lead the industry toward innovation, accountability, and excellence. As I finished speaking, the mood in the room shifted. The board members whispered among themselves, their expressions shifting from skepticism to contemplation as they recognized the gravity of the moment. Then came the unexpected twist. The head of the board, a dignified woman who had been a silent observer, leaned towards me with a piercing gaze. Alex, if we were to consider this takeover, how can we trust it won't result in a repeat of the past? That's the thing, I replied. Trust isn't something that can be given, it must be earned. But in this case, the proof lies with the excellent response I've garnered from the market. It is transformative leadership we desperately need. With mounting tension, they gathered their papers, and to my astonishment, they began to vote on a motion that would strike against my former boss. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation. As I stood there, the flashbacks of betrayal swirled in my mind. Every sleepless night, every moment of doubt faded with each passing second. The decision was made. In the most surreal twist of fate, they voted to replace the current CEO, my former boss, with me as the new CEO. Flooded with emotions, I took a moment to gather myself. All those feelings of hopelessness, betrayal, and revenge were transformed into something beautiful, a resurgence of my identity, my integrity. As I stepped out of that boardroom a new CEO, the echoes of my journey rang in my ears. It was time to galvanize this company into something extraordinary, a place where innovation thrived and the mistakes of the past became lessons for a bright future. Looking around at the faces of those who had once doubted me, I smiled. The sweetest victory was not just in reclaiming my role, but in turning the tides to create a legacy built on perseverance, redemption, and inspiring ambition. I had become the embodiment of resilience, and as I walked out of that office, I felt a weight lift. No matter how twisted my path had become, I stood tall, and I couldn't wait to set things right.